There are moments in life when someone humiliates you so deeply, so publicly, that the air around you goes cold. Not because the wind changed, but because something inside you just breaks. That day happened at a backyard barbecue. Smoke in the air, laughter all around, red plastic cups and folding chairs on the grass. It should have been the most ordinary Sunday of my summer. But nothing about it was ordinary by the time the afternoon ended. My name is Sarah. And for most of my adult life, I had learned to shrink myself in family spaces. I was the quiet one. The one who didn't bring much up at dinner. The one who smiled when someone made a joke at her expense, because making a scene felt worse than the wound. My cousin Derek was the opposite of me in every way. Loud. Confident. The kind of man who walked into a room and immediately started rearranging it to make himself the center. He had always been the golden boy of the family, the one with the big personality, the stories, the status. And I had always been the backdrop to his performance. That Sunday, his parents were hosting. His father, Uncle Ray, was a man of very few words. Tall, silver-haired, with a stillness about him that made you feel like every word he spoke had been carefully chosen years in advance. I had always respected Uncle Ray, even if I never quite understood him. I arrived quietly, found a seat near the back of the yard, and tried to blend into the afternoon. Everything was fine until Derek noticed me. He walked over with that smile, the one I had learned to dread since childhood. "Well, look who decided to show up," he said loudly, loud enough for the whole yard to hear. "Still doing that little government job thing?" A few people turned. I felt the heat rise to my face. "Still serving, yes," I said quietly. "Serving," he repeated, drawing the word out like a punchline. "What is it, like filing papers somewhere? Answering phones?" He laughed. "No offense, Sarah, but some of us." Derek wasn't finished. He never was. He pulled up a chair beside me, uninvited, and leaned in with the casual cruelty of someone who had never once faced real consequences for the way he spoke to people. "You know, my buddy Marcus just got promoted. Regional director, 32 years old. That's what ambition looks like, Sarah. That's what happens when you actually push yourself." I kept my voice even. Controlled. I had trained myself for worse than this. "I'm happy for Marcus," I said. "Are you though?" He tilted his head. "Because you don't look happy. You look like someone who's been settling for a long time." The word settling landed like a stone in still water. Rings spreading outward. I could feel the eyes of cousins, aunts, neighbors brushing past me like moths near a flame, just close enough to watch, far enough to pretend they weren't. I had spent the last 9 years of my life doing work I couldn't talk about at family BBQs, work that had taken me overseas 3 times. Work that had cost me relationships, sleep, and pieces of myself I never got back. I had been in rooms that most people don't know exist, making decisions that most people don't know needed to be made. But I couldn't say that. So I stayed quiet. And Derek read my silence as weakness, the way people always do when they've never had to develop the discipline to hold their tongue. "I just think," he continued, loudly now, playing to whatever audience had gathered, "that some people are meant to lead, and some people are meant to support. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right, Sarah?" Someone laughed. Softly, nervously, but they laughed. And in that moment, something shifted inside me. Not a crack. Not a break. Something more like a door quietly, firmly, closing. I had spent years being the person who absorbed. Who shrunk. Who made room. But I was tired. So deeply, quietly tired of making myself smaller so that someone else could feel larger. I looked up at Derek. Low. Uncle Ray didn't look at Derek when he spoke. He looked at me. "What's your call sign, Sarah?" The question landed in the silence of the yard like a single clear note. I held his gaze. My voice was steady. "Iron Veil," I said. Something moved across Uncle Ray's face. Recognition. Respect. And something much deeper, something that looked almost like pride. He nodded slowly. Then he turned to Derek. "Your cousin," he said, his voice low and measured, "has done 3 tours of duty. She was part of a joint intelligence task force that I am not at liberty to name. I know this because I worked alongside people in that program before I retired. What she does, what she has done, is not filing papers." Derek's face had gone completely still. "She doesn't talk about it," Uncle Ray continued, "because she took an oath. That is called integrity, son. And what you did today, what you have been doing to her for years, is called cowardice dressed up as confidence." He paused. "Let that breathe. Apologize. Now." It was 2 words. Quiet as a closing door. But they echoed through that yard like thunder. Derek's jaw worked. His eyes swept across the faces of everyone watching, cousins, aunts, neighbors, all of them witnessing the moment the golden boy was asked to be accountable. He looked back at me. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he said. And for the first time in my memory, Derek's voice was small. I nodded. Not for him. For myself. That afternoon, I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I drove home with the windows down, the evening air moving through the car, and something in my chest that I hadn't felt in years, a kind of quiet. Because here is what I know now, and what I wish I had understood sooner. The people who mock you for your silence have never had to develop the strength it takes to keep it. Your discipline is not your weakness. It is your armor. And sometimes, not always but sometimes, the world finds a way to say so out loud. You do not have to explain your